The following episode of the Maui Chamber of Commerce's Business Matters radio show was originally broadcast on July 27, 2021.
Aloha and welcome, Maui, to the Maui Chamber's Business Matters radio show, sponsored by Mokulele Airlines and Sherry Reeve Gallery and Gifts. I'm your host, Pamela Tumpot, president of the Maui Chamber of Commerce, and today we're going to cover legislative highlights, the House Select Committee, and moving positively forward as a state. We're going to look at Maui Emergency Rental Assistance, the eviction moratorium ending in August, and the Homeowner Assistance Fund Program, and we're going to learn about a Polynesian tribal tattoo art on genuine leather. So it's going to be an exciting day as we talk about different topics and feature a local manufacturer as always. But first, I'd like to welcome Speaker Scott Psyche, who is the Speaker of the House of Representatives. Speaker Psyche currently serves as the representative for House District 26, which includes the areas of Macaulay, Kaheka, Kaka'ako, and downtown. He took on the role of Speaker in 2018, and prior to being elected House Speaker by his peers, Representative Psyche served on the House Majority Leadership from 2013 to 2017. In August 2019, Representative Psyche then was named President-elect of the National Conference. In August 2019, he was still Speaker Psyche. I'm looking at this script from someone else and realized that's not accurate. And
too many dates, that's fine. Too many dates.
Yeah, too many dates. But was named President-elect of the National Conference of State Legislators, a bipartisan organization serving the nation's 7,383 state lawmakers and legislative staff. So, Speaker Psyche, you have such a tremendous background, and we're so thrilled to have you as Speaker of the House. Good morning and welcome.
Hey, good morning, Pam. Thanks for inviting me today.
You know, we have really just been so impressed by your leadership, and of course, with COVID-19 and the challenges that we faced, you formed the House Select Committee on COVID-19 Economic and Financial Preparedness. I'd love for you to share I'm pleased to serve on that committee, but I'd really love for you to share with the public why you formed this committee and tell us about your vision and what's been going on.
Yeah, so thanks, Pam, for being a member of that committee. I want everybody to know that Pam attended every single meeting that we held, and I think we held maybe 20 or so meetings over the past year and a half.
It was really
Pam
amazing.
You always had questions and really good comments and good advice for us. So I wanted to just thank you for being a significant part of our committee and for representing Maui very well.
Thank you.
So when the shutdown, right before the shutdown occurred in March, was it March 2019? It was March 2019?
2020.
March 2020. Right before the shutdown occurred, the House leadership decided to form this COVID committee. We felt that it was just really important to find a mechanism to bring in people from the community who could help weigh in on what we knew were going to be some really, really significant challenges for our state. My mantra has been that government, during this pandemic, government could not do it alone. We needed help. We needed expertise, and that was what the committee provided for the House. So if you look at some of our accomplishments, I'm really proud because our membership, and a lot of these are self-initiated too. But the committee weighed in in March. As soon as we formed, the committee worked on developing the public health matrix grid through Dr. Mugishi at HMSA, which is what the color-coded system for opening and reopening. Carl Bonham at the University of Hawaii provided an economic update every time we met. The committee worked on improvements and recommendations for the Safe Travels program. The committee developed the framework for a rental assistance program that eventually the counties all took over. The committee developed two mass vaccination centers on Oahu at Pier 2 and at Blaisdell. And that's really significant because, when the year began, January 2020, the vaccination rate was really low.
Right.
Our state vax rate was really low. And these two centers assisted hundreds of thousands of people with their vaccination shots, which enabled the medical providers to refocus on community-based clinics on Oahu as well as on the neighbor islands. So the committee did some really solid work that I think really helped to get us through and work us through the worst of the pandemic.
I wholeheartedly agree. It was amazing, and I think through your leadership, bringing us together statewide, I mean, to have representatives in so many different industries. Not only were we represented with people from every county and chambers of commerce, but we had industry leaders and community leaders and public servants. Everybody was there together. And it was interesting as we were starting out also to share the nuances of things that were different between each island because, we all have some differences, but how we could come together on common goals and really make some great headway.
Yeah, and when we started the committee, there were so many unknowns, right? There was so much uncertainty for all of us, and as I mentioned, the vax rate was really low. Unemployment was the highest in the nation, right? Businesses were starting to close. Renters were having problems. We were facing a $1 billion state budget deficit. I mean, there were so many unanswered questions when we started, but the committee helped us, work through a lot of these issues.
And we also had a great team tracking the federal funding as well, and also the state's utilization of that funding, which was phenomenal to get reports on that.
Yeah, that was great. And I'm hoping that information was useful for nonprofits that could apply for those grants.
Yeah, I think through this, I was just really impressed, and a lot of new systems came into play, and especially in the area for those who were in many cases most remote, but not necessarily geographically, but just underserved populations who were really hit very hard, and being on a team of people who were really out in the trenches, working with the homeless. I know we looked at what was occurring within the prison system. I mean, we really covered the gamut of subjects, from helping businesses, but and individuals who were struggling, as well as looking at how we overhaul state systems and working on unemployment and things of that nature.
Yeah, and I think my first mantra was that government couldn't do it alone. My second mantra was that I hoped that government would change, and that if we couldn't change as a result of the pandemic, then we would never see change in government. But I think the committee helped us to identify areas where government could improve. I think it was important that people on our committee, our members, were willing to help. It took a lot. I mean, I think a lot of the members put themselves at risk, through the positions that they took.
Yes.
Because they weren't always popular positions, but I think that what the committee did was it based its decisions on the data, right, on community input, on what they felt was the right thing to do. And I have to say that every position that the committee took, I believe was the right thing to do.
Yeah, I really think that it's easy for someone to maybe question or criticize when you're not in the room and don't understand all the dialogue that goes behind some of the decisions. And it's hard to always publish all of the dialogue that goes with the decisions. But I think everybody worked really hard. And of course, decisions had to be made swiftly. I mean, we were in a global pandemic, and changes had to be made quickly. And some things we learned, like the UI system. And we weren't alone. Of course, that was happening all across the country as well. But, we worked diligently to kind of get through that and make changes. And now we see, that our whole world has sort of changed. Broadband is really critically important. And so it's all sort of coming full circle. And now the question is kind of how do we plan forward? But I guess before I kind of want to move on to how do we get going forward from all of what we've learned, I'd like to circle back a little bit, too, on because I think it'll tie into where we're going in the next legislative session, but what were you, through all this, what do you see as some of the highlights of last year's legislative session?
You guys, as we, when we ended our regular session in late April, I think that the best way to summarize it is that we stopped the bleeding. And as I mentioned, there were so many unknowns in the community. What was happening with the safety net? What was happening with renters? With small businesses? We were able to, unfortunately, because of the influx of federal funds, we were able to appropriate, money for homeless and social services. We approved a mediation program for renters who are going to be displaced now, start beginning August 6th, right? And just in about a week or so.
Right.
We shored up the unemployment fund with $700 million. So I think that will provide some relief to businesses that won't see increased assessments over the next year.
That was really important.
Yeah, so I think we were able to, we couldn't do everything,
right?
Because it always does come down to funding and coordination. But I think that we were able to hit all of the pressing points that needed to be addressed over this next year.
It really was a remarkable session also, because this was the first time we allowed virtual testimony as well. So there was folks were all working virtually. I mean, we forget that all of our legislators had to make huge shifts, and the system, something that us, particularly on the neighbor islands, have wanted for a long time, of course, was the opportunity to ring in remotely. And, for many years I've talked to legislators and they've said it's just not possible. And now we found, there is a way. Do you think that will stick? Do you think we'll continue? Are we going to continue forward with that this coming year?
Yes. So, I want to thank our House and the Senate IT staff, because they worked really hard to implement the virtual public hearing process. And I think it just went seamlessly. I don't think there were any flaws in that system and how they set it up. And they set it up within a matter of months.
Yeah. And
within budget, actually lower than what was budgeted, because it was just basically done in-house. And so I think going forward for the next session, I'm assuming that the numbers, the COVID numbers stabilize, I'm looking at least for the House a hybrid system where we will have a combination of in-person participation as well as the option for virtual. So we'll have a hybrid system in the House.
I think that's fantastic. And what do you see are the key things that we need to do now to move positively forward?
Well, I think the elephant in the room is tourism management.
Yes.
This is hard, I get it I get the message from the tourism industry, but I think that and this is kind of what I feared getting out of the pandemic, was the public reaction to the increase in tourism numbers. I think I may have said it at the COVID meetings a few times, where the industry needs to prepare the public for a dramatic increase in tourism, because we all knew, right, that tourism was pent up and that Hawaii was going to be a prime destination point for visitors. So I think we really have to, and this is not unique to Hawaii, right? You have destinations all over the world that are grappling with this, with the influx of visitors,
right,
and the public response to that. But I really think that we have to figure out, and I hope that the Hawaii Tourism Authority will help take the lead on how to manage tourism. We can't really control the number of visitors who are arriving here, because it's not like we can just stop airlines from flying here, right? That's a federal government call. But we have to manage visitors once they arrive. And one of the bills that we passed this, in April, was the bill to allow DLNR to assess fees for visitors at our state parks,
right,
at state facilities. I think that will help. It's something that DLNR actually had been requesting for several years. I think Hanuma Bay on Oahu, it gives us a model for how to manage resources, right? Because you have a requirement there for, well, first of all, you have a cap on the parking lot, the number of cars that can park there, but you also have a requirement for visitors to listen to the video, the instructional video, and then there's a fee. And I think that the Bay gives us a model for how to manage our resources.
Yeah, I think that is a wonderful opportunity to learn from. And I know my mom is a big trails person, and so she was telling me about Diamond Head and the trail there, how they had instituted a $5 fee and a parking fee. I think it was $10. And they had raised this year in 6 months $900,000, which will put them, if they're on track, ahead of prior years. Which helps. And she was saying, this is great because it'll help, as long as the funds stay in the right place, it'll help, sustain the trails and maintain and upgrade things. And so we have good models. And as they were reporting on that program, they were saying, people were willing to pay more. $5 actually turned out to be a nominal fee that people didn't even blink at. They just felt that was fair and parking was fair. They were used to paying for that in other areas. So I think there's a lot of ways for us to look at that. And I didn't know how Nama Bay required that you go through a visitor education video. I think that's awesome as well. And those are the things, I know we were working on some of this prior to the pandemic. And as you say, we really now need to focus on that. Here in Maui, our county council is looking at 2 moratorium bills. So it's really important to manage tourism in a way that, we still need to remember how many jobs that industry provides and how important the visitors are to us, but also understand that education is really important. And we need to look at ways that we can better address parking and some of these critical infrastructure issues, protecting the place and the culture and engaging people in understanding that importance. So I'm excited about that, I know they're working on it. And how else do you feel that we can continue as we move forward to improve, or how are you feeling about the vaccination rates and reopening?
Yeah, so we need to increase the vax rate in Hawaii. I think Hawaii's done a great job compared to other states, other jurisdictions. We're one of the best, but I think we need to do better. And I know that the numbers of people at the clinics have decreased over the past month or so, but we really need to have people do that. I was at the Joe Biden event on Sunday at Waipahu High School, and there were some protesters there, anti-vax protesters, sign waving, and it was actually really sad because not only were there adults there, but there were kids there,
right?
Like little, small, like elementary toddlers, who were there sign waving with, I'm assuming, with their parents. People, you may not want to be vaccinated, but you have to think about how that is going to impact people around you, right? Your family members, your friends, your coworkers, elders. It's not just about you; it's about how it impacts people around you. And that was just really sad to see on Sunday, that these little kids who couldn't make their own decision were being exposed to this.
Yeah. I keep saying here locally too, messaging is really important, and we have to think about not only the words we're putting out there, but the way we're behaving. One of our visitors bureau representatives came back and said, we did a travel tour and all across the country, in as we were trying to market Maui and talk about how we market in a new way, people would say, "We hear you don't want visitors anymore. We hear you want us to stop," and a lot of the messaging going out really is not reflective of our way of life and our aloha spirit. So, these things are so important for people to take to heart, and even we can respectfully disagree. But as you say, we're finding that we're hearing from a survey we recently did too that, as people are coming back to work, some are very frustrated. People who are vaccinated are very frustrated for those who aren't vaccinated. And when, everybody's struggling to just keep up with the demand right now and we're a shortage of workers, they worry what's going to happen with those who are unvaccinated, and the Delta variant is growing in our state. And, just there's tensions that are growing as a result of it. And so it's getting to be an interesting point. And it's getting to be pretty tough, especially as numbers are growing again.
Yeah, I mean, those who don't want to be vaccinated put themselves at risk, but that's their decision. But then they're putting everybody else at risk, and that's where I think, it's wrong. It's not right.
Yeah, we've been doing a lot of work trying to encourage people to get vaccinated. And for those listening, I just want to remind you the Chamber does have a program. It's a partnership to share that Minute Medical, and it's really their program. They're the amazing champions. They have resources, and they have all 3 vaccines. They'll go direct to your business location. If you have a number of employees, their friends, their family, colleagues, or associates of the business, you can have a small group and just call Minute Medical, and they'll be happy to come out to your location and have you on.
Great.
So it's exciting. But what we're finding is right now it's slowed to a standstill. We're not finding any takers yet, but we're hoping to see that change and improve.
Yes, I hope it'll improve since the numbers are spiking in Hawaii.
Yeah,
I hope people get the message.
I hope
and
so.
It's not from travelers too, right? It's from residents. Those numbers are driven by residents, a community spread by residents who travel outside and then return.
Yes.
It's not from visitors.
And folks from Vegas, a lot coming in. A lot from Vegas.
Yeah, this is what the pattern was. Remember that was the
That's
pattern
right.
while we were meeting for the past year and a half. It was Hawaii residents who were traveling to Vegas and then returning with COVID.
Yeah. So let's beware. I know. Lieutenant Governor Green asked us to kind of settle down for a couple of weeks, and please, especially if you've gone to Vegas, please sort of self-quarantine, because we just don't know. Well, Speaker, I would love to have you back on the show. You are so awesome, and I really want to tell you how much we appreciate all that you've done through this pandemic and creating the House Select Committee to really, advise and work with government on things that could be done during this time. We really appreciate your great leadership, and I know we could talk for days. So if you don't mind, I'd love to have you back on again soon.
That'd be great. Can you remind everybody, Pam, that our COVID committee is going to be meeting on Monday, August 2nd at 10 a.m.?
Yes.
So we'll be getting updates on the medical issue, a medical update from Hawaii Pacific Health, Queens, HMSA, and then an economic update from Carl Bonham.
Great. I missed those, so I'm so glad.
Yeah,
I know. We were in legislative session. How can we do all that? I mean, there was so much going on. But thank you so much, Speaker. And I look forward to attending on Monday. It's definitely on my calendar. So Monday, August 2nd, we're going to meet again and get some great updates. And then we of course, share them with the community through our weekly e-news with members. So great to have you on. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Take care. Thanks for having me.
You too. Have a wonderful day.
You too. Bye.
Aloha. All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break from our sponsor, Mokulele Airlines.
Mokulele Airlines operates the largest commuter airline hub in the country, right here in Kahului. Fly Mokulele from Kahului to Molokai, Lanai, Hana, Waimea, Kona, and now Hilo. Mokulele also operates the only flights between Kapalua and Honolulu. There is never a middle seat on Mokulele, and every seat has a window and aisle. Visit mokuleleairlines.com and take your next flight from the newly renovated Mokulele Terminal.
All right, we are back, and it is my great pleasure to welcome the Deputy Director of the County of Maui's Housing and Human Concerns Department, Linda Munzell. Linda has a bachelor's degree in science and an associate's degree in accounting and horticulture. Her strengths are in the area of housing, and we are fortunate to have a strong housing and social service team leading our Housing and Human Concerns Department. Good morning, Linda. How are you today?
Good morning, Pam. I'm great. How are you? I'm so glad to be back. Thank you for having me.
Oh, we're so glad to have you back. I'm wonderful. It's a gorgeous day. A little overcast as I was driving down from Pukalani, but looks like the sun's coming out.
Yeah, they're always gorgeous days on Maui.
That's right. We are so truly blessed. It's very true. Well, we're so glad to have you back. And, I know how busy you have been, so I really appreciate your time and always your dedication to the county. You have been working on so many different programs. And, of course, with all of the things that we've been going through with COVID-19 housing, it just continues to rise as a critical top priority. So I wanted to discuss the Maui Emergency Rental Assistance Program. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how people apply for it?
Sure. So one of the priorities has been trying to create some housing stability for the residents of Maui County and, of course, across the state. So there's been some funding that was made available. And I don't know if you know, but the County of Maui actually received $40 million in federal funding for emergency rental assistance, this program that you're talking about. And this program is actually intended to help families who are behind in their rent or who have overdue utility bills. And if they can show that they've experienced financial harm from the pandemic, then they would possibly qualify for this program. And I think pretty much everyone here can show that they've had some hurt through this pandemic period, whether it's job loss or loss of income or having to get unemployment, or maybe, because the schools have shut down, they don't have, their kids can't go to school, so somebody is staying home to take care of them. So there's a lot of ways that you might have been hurt by this pandemic, and as a result, you've now fallen behind in paying of your rent or paying some of your utility bills. And this program is really designed to provide assistance for those folks. Of course, like most programs, there are income limits. Okay. For example, a family of four would need to make less than about $82,000 a year to qualify for this assistance. And, of course, somebody who's listening to this program might say, oh, well, I've gone back to work. I no longer qualify. That actually might not be true. Okay. So if you had a loss of income last year and in your tax return it says that, for your family of four that you've made less than $82,000, we would still be able to, or perhaps be able to provide assistance to you even though your income has recovered, but you're still struggling to catch up. So, just because you've gone back to work, this program might still be able to assist you. So the county is actually contracted with Catholic Charities, who's administering the program for us. And the applications and pre-screening, it's really easy to do this. It's actually done online. But if you also have difficulty, if you're a person who doesn't have a computer or you don't like the technology, they can also provide assistance in person. MEO has been contracted by Catholic Charities to actually do some hands-on, in-person assistance if that's needed. They are going out to locations out in Hana and Lanai and Molokai and to some of our other remote communities to provide that assistance if you need some help. And then also if English is a second language and you're having trouble understanding what the questions are or what's needed, they can also provide translation assistance too. So we're trying really hard to get the word out to folks that this assistance is available and that we've got resources that we can bring to the table to help people. So far, like I said, we've got $40 million. So far, the county's paid out about $6.3 million, and we've helped about 787 or something like that households so far. So obviously, that's far shy of the $40 million that's available to us. So we're really working hard to get the word out to anybody who is still struggling to come up to date on their rent. One thing I do want to say, particularly how important this program is becoming right now, is because the eviction moratorium is ending in August. And once that eviction moratorium ends, if you're behind in rent, you could become evicted now by your landlord. And, of course, the moratorium has been in place for 15 months. But this is your chance now, if you need help, to get some rental assistance, to go online or go into our website and take a look to see whether you might qualify. They've also got some telephone numbers in there. They've got frequently asked questions in there. So there's all kinds of information in our website.
So tell us what the website is, Linda.
Well, it's mauicounty.gov/Maui Rent Help. But you don't actually need to remember that. I just Googled Maui Rent Help, and it immediately came up in the search box.
Awesome.
Yeah, and it'll take you to the webpage with the frequently asked questions, and it'll link you up to the pre-screening page, and so there's all kinds of stuff in there. There's even a section for landlords. So if a landlord has a tenant that's behind in there's rent, there's also information on how to help the tenants apply for assistance. Obviously, the tenant can't apply for the funds without the consent and cooperation of the tenant, but they can work with the tenant to apply for those funds. So there's all kinds of help in there.
That's spectacular. Is there a deadline for the use of these funds?
There has been a deadline. We had some, minimums that we needed to spend that was coming up in September. But some of that's been extended, and we do expect to have some more funding coming down the road. But it really is important that they apply now because if we don't spend the money, then this money ends up going back to Honolulu, or it ends up going back to the federal government. So anybody in Maui County who has a need should really go online now. It's not taking a long time. Unlike I think when this program first rolled out, we heard horror stories about people, the thing closing down on Oahu and the system, having some challenges. And Oahu has, because of their volume, had to close down their portal a few times now, and then they reopen it for more applications. Maui County has never had to do that. The system goes pretty smoothly. Catholic Charities have been fabulous to work with. When they get a pre-screen and then, nothing moves along, they've actually been reaching out to the tenant to see what kind of assistance they might need. They follow up with people, so we're trying really hard to make this an easy process and to provide assistance to anyone who needs it.
I'm so glad to hear that you've shared all the things that you've shared. So it's available online for those who want to get a hold of the online application, and I believe they can also do that through the libraries. You've got MEO helping with hands-on. You've got translation from English to your native language. There's so many great things happening. So we really want to encourage everybody who needs this program. And again, let's talk a little, take advantage of it now, because the money's available now, and a lot of people are thinking, okay, well, I'm still okay to August. But August is, days away at this point.
It is shocking, right?
It's shocking. I mean, we sometimes lose a little track of time with, sort of what I call COVID fatigue. I mean, days just kind of slide on by. But August is really days away. So what is the end date in August? What is the date that this the eviction moratorium technically ends? Yeah,
so the eviction moratorium, of course there was the federal government one, and then of course our governor as well has been extending the moratorium for a long time. So I think it's been in place for like 15 months, where a landlord whose tenant wasn't able or wasn't paying rent could not evict, and that is actually ending on August the 6th. So beginning August the 7th, if you're behind in your rent, a landlord can start the eviction process. Now, I know that there's a lot of people who are struggling, and there might be a lot of tenants who are behind in their rent. So they're, to keep the courts from being overwhelmed, they are phasing this in. And so the first group of folks that a landlord might be able to evict would be someone who is 4 months or more behind in paying their rent. And so beginning on August the 7th, if you are 4 or more months behind in your rent, your landlord can start the eviction process. Now, Act 57, which the legislature has recently enacted, has changed the process a little bit. They understand that this has been a challenge, and they want to put in place some assistance that would perhaps help a tenant remain in their home and help the landlord, through this process. And so what they've done is, in the past, it used to be a 5-day writ, and it was pay or quit. If you've got 5 days to pay, or you need to get out, and if you don't, then I'm going to file for a writ of possession through the court. Through Act 57, they've actually changed that. It's a 15-day notice now. And then there's also a requirement for mediation services. And so through this Act 57, the legislature is also providing some funding to provide free mediation services. Again, there's some income limits that are associated with that. But the feeling is that should help the landlords and the tenants try to work through the process and find a way to figure out how to get them back up to date on their rent. Now, landlords have got mortgages too, right? So the whole idea is to try and get this situation resolved. And one of the very first questions that the mediator is going to ask is whether you've applied for this rental and utility assistance through the county, because there's funding available. And if you haven't done that, then they're going to ask why not.
Right.
So I think it's really important, as these deadlines start to come up, that people remain aware of the fact that this other assistance is available. So, as I said, the first group of folks would be people that are 4 or more months behind in rent, and those evictions can be filed beginning on August the 7th. If you're 3 months behind, eviction can begin September the 6th. If you're 2 months behind, but your landlord can begin the eviction process on November the 6th. And then if you're 1 month or behind in your rent, those evictions would begin in January 6th, 2022. So they are phasing it in. And there will be a process, but it's much better if you work with your landlord to try and get this resolved. And if you qualify to get the rental assistance so your arrears is paid up to date, then it would be to get evicted, because it's got all kinds of repercussions to your life later on. So, and why? Why not? We've got this stuff in available to you.
And we've still got a lot of program money to spend. We've got $40 million. We've spent $6.3. So we've got the money. So folks, don't wait. If you need this help, go to Maui Rent Help. Just Google Maui Rent Help, and then it'll take you to the frequently asked questions, the pre-screening section. And the landlords, there's information. Talk to your landlords. Please look this up as well. Talk to your tenants. Because, we know it's so hard to find housing these days, and we don't want to see people get evicted.
Oh.
And we want to make sure that they take action on this. Is there, Linda, if I go to the website, is there sort of a flyer or something I can put on the chamber website about this?
So we go to the website. There's actually all kinds of resources. So, if you put a link up there, there's frequently asked questions that, they could go to. And, of course, the county website has got other resources as well, not, all kinds of things, not just the rental assistance. If you go just to the Maui County webpage, the very first thing you see and the very first hurdle is the Maui Rent Help website.
Okay.
And, again, frequently asked questions. There's a link to the pre-screening application right there. If they want to call somebody and they need some help, they can call Catholic Charities directly.
Awesome.
I can give you their telephone number if you'd like.
Well, let's do that real quick, because I also want, we're running a little bit out of time, but I want to also have you talk a little bit about the Homeowners Assistance Fund. So give me the Catholic Charities phone number real quick, and then let's move on to the Homeowners Assistance Program.
Yeah. Their telephone number is, of course, 808-873-4673.
4673. 873-4673.
Right.
Okay, we've got about 2 minutes, but let's talk about the Homeowners Assistance Fund program.
Yeah, well, the Homeowners Assistance Program is coming down the line. It's not a lot of money. I think the Hawaii as a state is getting about $50 million. But unlike the assistance, the rental assistance, the goal is actually to provide a range of assistance that's supposed to lead to a long-term mortgage resolution. It's not enough money for people who are behind in their mortgage to make them whole, but the idea is to try to assist families to help them stabilize their mortgage, and through loan modification and other kinds of programs. Again, it's really early stages of being designed. We're actually going to do a couple of test pilot projects. I think it's on Kauai and the Big Island. And so you can look forward to seeing that. Probably in August we'll have more information on that kind of a program.
Okay, great. Well, then we'll bring you back a little later on, too, so that you can keep us posted. And because that is another great program where, of course, right now we're talking about rental assistance, but we have a lot of families who have back-owed mortgages during this time. And so it's great to see that there's a concerted effort being put forth there, and understanding a lot of these things are still in the works. But good to know that it's coming soon.
It's coming. It's coming down the line. So just keep your eyes and ears open for that.
Oh, Linda, well, so great to have you. This is Linda Munzell, Deputy Director of the County of Maui Housing and Human Concerns Department. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Pam. You have a great day.
I will. You too. Mahalo,
All right.
Linda.
Bye.
Bye. All right. So we're going to just share a little bit about our other sponsor, Sherry Reeve Gallery and Gifts. Sherry is a renowned watercolor artist who offers an array of bright and beautiful art and gifts for every occasion. If you haven't seen her gallery in historic Makawao Town, you definitely should. And she also has been offering some phenomenal art classes where you, too, can make a beautiful piece of watercolor art. So check in with Sherry Reeve Gallery and Gifts in Makawao Town. And then we're going to now move on to our Local Manufacturers segment. I'm pleased to welcome business owner Shanna Kanahele of Nakoa Brand. Nakoa Brand was created in 2013 by a young dynamic duo, Shanna and her husband Dimas. The goal was to create subtle but powerful pieces of art from the many types of Polynesian tattoo styles that they create, and to create unique boutique-style clothing and accessories. Aloha and good morning, Shanna. How are you?
Aloha, good morning. I'm fine, thank you. How are you guys doing?
Oh, I'm great. Thank you. I am
wonderful.
I'm thrilled to have you on the show this morning.
Yeah, well, we're excited too. Thanks for having us.
You bet. Well, you've got a great inspirational story that involves your husband and how this all got started. So please share that with our audience.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's definitely a unique one, because you don't really see too many of our type of businesses around right now. But a little bit about us is that we started back in 2013, and we have an apparel accessory company, and we started off by just having some I guess I should share a little bit about my husband and his background. And he actually he's the artist behind everything. He's more of a very easygoing, laid back person, and he's more behind the scenes guy. So you'll see the artwork for him, but you'll see me as being the forefront person, as trying to share our story with everyone, and designs and all of that. But he has he's been an artist all his life, and he just, he knew that whatever he was going to do, it had to do with art. And he actually has a degree in video game art. Huh. And he has a degree in that, and he realized early on, after getting his degree, that there's no jobs really for that here in Hawaii. So he would have to go to the mainland. He'd have to, move over there and do that, which he didn't really want to do. And he's like, I got this great gift. I need to find a way to make it work here in Hawaii. And in 2013, we just kind of started off as making trucker hats, just for fun, getting it printed at lids in the mall. We made some really fun trucker hats, and we started wearing them out, and people were like, hey, where'd you get that? Where'd you get that? We're like, oh, maybe there's a market for this. I don't know. Let's try. So we started off with just a couple real easy designs, and we took it to Fourth Friday and started to do events. And from there, it just kind of snowballed effect, and we're just, and here we are, 7-8 years later with a store here in QKC. We used to have a store in Hilo that we closed down, luckily, right before COVID. And, we've just been going pedal to the metal since then. And we have 4 beautiful children. They're all very young. And we've just been hustling and bustling and, doing things since then. And so it's really cool. It's really cool because we're able to do this and still be with our family and be with each other and just really create these cool designs and, learning so much along the way. We've, make our own jewelry. We do our own printing. Everything is done majority in-house. So if we can't do it, then we do source locally of how we can do it. So it's really cool how we can, just keep everything as local as it can get.
You guys are truly awesome. You are one of our remarkable stories. I know you've been in the Maid of Maui County Festival for many years, and really just we're always so impressed. And every year, just there's more and more and more at the booth. It's just staggering how prolific you are in terms of the new creations every year.
But you have to.
Yeah. And you guys, you featured a lot of Polynesian tribal tattoo art. Tell us a little bit about that. And you've got some new genuine leather products, I hear.
Yeah, we do. My husband does a lot of research. And whenever he makes a design, he does a lot of research as to the design itself. And he tries to add his style of art into every piece that he does. So if you ever look at our website or come into our store, just know that there's a story behind everything. And it's not like we go and tell it, the story to, everything. But, hey, if you want to know, this is a little bit about it. And, sometimes he'll mix different cultures behind it. So you'll see some Tongan, some Hawaiian, some different aspects of tribal. And it's really cool because you can really tell a story with the types of tribal that you use and the designs and everything. So, which is really cool. As far as like leather stuff that we have coming out or that we've been kind of carrying, it's really cool. We do carry some Lakoa leather wallets and everything. We have some purses coming in and some clutches, and we're really just kind of expanding that because if there's one thing that we see as regular consumers is that there's a need for these kinds of local goods.
Yes.
Maui in general is it's a hard place to survive. Just talking about the housing opportunities or housing crisis that we're in right now, and just Maui itself is a really hard place to survive. So let alone have a business and just survive, it's extra hard. I always tell my husband, like, if we can survive in Maui, we can survive anywhere. So I was like, it's just crazy. So, if there's one thing that we see is that there's a need, there's a need for our type of clothing and the type of clothing and accessories that we offer. It makes a connection with people. People see it, and then connect to it, whether it's our fishing line, our hunting, or, just that. People make that connection, and then it's like, I need this. I have to have this. This reminds me of when I used to go throwing net with my papa, when I was 4 years old, or, something like that. And you really don't see that in clothing too often, where you're like, I got to have this because it reminds me of this. Or, so it's really cool how we can make that connection to, something that you've done as a child or even recently, so you just started taking up fishing and you caught this huge boar or not fish or hunting and you caught this huge boar or just, learning about the culture and you're just really anything. You come into the store and I can guarantee you're going to make a connection to something that we have. So that's the really exciting part for us, for sure.
And I always find that when I shop at your booth, I always find that all of a sudden, all these other people come to mind. It's like, oh, this would be perfect for this person. This would be perfect for that person.
Totally.
Because you have such great diversity. And so whenever I'm there, I always get a lot of my Christmas shopping done because
definitely. And
all the men in my life,
Exactly. And it's just, we always think about what do we want as consumers? We want something really nice. We want it at an affordable price, and we keep it that way by doing, manufacturing things ourselves, So the printing, the designing, all of that is done ourselves. So that's really too, like, why people just love gift shopping with us, because we have the canvas clutches and the tote bags, and we have the earrings that my auntie would just love, but we really keep it at an affordable price too. And we're able to do that because we've learned how to do that, along the way. So it's really cool that we're able to, offer that as well. And it's, year round. People are like, oh yeah, every family member that has a birthday come up, I come and get those because they love it. And because we're always offering new designs and, new products, it's a never ending. And so we're just so grateful to be where we're at right now. And the local support is unbelievable. I mean, we've had the local support us before, and that's mainly what our target is for locals. But within the past year and a half, it's unreal. It's
well,
we're just so blessed for sure.
Speaking of that, we've got about a minute left. Why don't you tell us where people can find those products? Because we do have so much great local support.
Yeah, we are located in Queen Kamanu Shopping Center. We on the lower level, right between American Eagle and Vans. So that's our main storefront. Or we do have our website. That's www.nakoabrand.com, and where we also offer free shipping to the entire state. So if you're buying anywhere in Hawaii, you get free shipping. If it's in the mainland, then we also do free shipping for $75 and over. But yeah, that's where we're at. And pretty soon, as events start to pop up here and there, you can guarantee that Nakoa Brand will be there for sure.
You are awesome. Shanna, we have loved having you on the show today. Thank you so much.
Definitely. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Well, as always, it's a fast-paced show, and that's all the time we have for Business Matters, brought to you by the Maui Chamber of Commerce and sponsored by Mokulele Airlines and Sherry Reeve Gallery and Gifts. I'm the president, Pamela Timpop, and we are wishing you blessings and best wishes for a beautiful Maui day. Aloha.